they say every dog has his day, and sometimes you're wearing milk bone underwear, right? And I think absolutely. I think when you are that nakedly ambitious in that way, on the one hand, like I salute you for your charisma and for your perseverance and for your dedication. On the other hand, I I would challenge people to think about like why do you want that title? Like why do you is that title of that create validation for you, or is there some sort of intrinsic thing that that position allows you to do as a human being that you feel is kind of true to your purpose, right?
Welcome to the EQ Gangster podcast, where you will learn practical tools to grow your mental and emotional health and intelligence to be the best version of yourself, both at work and at home. It is real, raw, and transformational. The journey of emotional growth isn't easy, but it's worth it. I believe in you. All right, EQ Gangsters, I am here with a high-speed, low-drag, air-cooled, belt-fed, Teflon-coated Jeff Tang. This guy is the bee's knees, the real deal Holyfield. And I met him from a good buddy of mine who's also the CEO of the company that I'm at. And Jeff and Justin met in Mexico, I believe, right? And so they were roughing it in Mexico. And Justin, the CEO, said, Noble, you got to connect with this guy because he's got an amazing background. And then I called up Big Jeff, and he has got a phenomenal background. So, Big Jeff, great to have you. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure, Big Noble. Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure. I've had a couple different lives. Was born in Cleveland, Ohio. Grew up as a Midwest American kid, and then my dad moved to China, and so lived in China for a couple years while he worked there, and then pursued a career in journalism. And so I went to Northwestern University, became a broadcast journalist in Louisville, Kentucky, and then in Nashville, Tennessee for about 7 years, and really loved the storytelling and the human connection and the ability to really make a difference in people's lives in that career. And then transitioned into really not knowing what I wanted to do, but I knew that business school might kind of open some doors for me. So went back to the University of Virginia Darden School of Business, got my MBA, realized that marketing and television news reporting were really similar from a human and a storytelling capacity. Was off to the races, worked at General Mills, worked at Cliff Bar, and then kind of was called into this world of coaching by my alma mater, the University of Virginia's Darden School of Business. So came back and did that for a couple of years, and then worked in startup in the plant-based food space and ran marketing for a company called Wicked Kitchen. And then since then, I've worked kind of as an independent consultant and contractor. I do marketing work, I do innovation, white space work, but the stuff that I really enjoy, I think the stuff that you and I connected on Noble was around coaching and around helping people understand um, really what it means to be able to lead a fulfilling and meaningful life amidst all the striving and amidst all the pressure and amidst all the extrinsic kind of temptations that are out there in the world. So coaching has really been something that has been a huge part of my heart.
Love it, Jeff. Thank you. So can we jump in? And you shared one with me, but I'd like to, and
Sure.
I'm going to ask you some of the questions that I asked you the last time, when we talked last week. Could you share a couple of your leadership face plants and what you learned from those experiences of those, failures, whatever, less, face plants, whatever. Yeah. What did you learn and how did you grow from those experiences?
Noble, first of all, I want to point out, I love that you feel so comfortable with me to be like, listen, my first question is going to be about your failures. We're going to like literally just start right there. And I know you're going to be good with it because I am 100%. One of the things that I've talked about is, and it's a cliche, especially in the last 10 years or so, but this concept of psychological safety, right? The Aristotle study by Google, this meta study among all their teams, among tens of thousands of employees, like what leads to a high functioning team and the like what characteristics, right? And so they searched all these teams, these tens of thousands of people, and they found It wasn't the quality of the leadership. It wasn't how many degrees you had. It wasn't your years of experience. It wasn't even like your diversity. The number one characteristic that team highly successful and high operating teams, high functioning teams had was this concept of psychological safety, right? Which is to say, I'm willing to talk about failures. I'm willing to talk about difficult things that might otherwise feel like they would jeopardize my standing or my safety, and know that there is that safety, is there's that trust, there's that community of care within that team environment with my leader and with my teammates. And I know I can be brave and I can be vulnerable and have those conversations. And that was a concept that I don't think I really embraced and certainly did not know that well as a younger leader. And I think the biggest mistake that I ever made, as a son of immigrants, grew up in, working class, the Midwest. I really had this concept that I wanted to be a good teammate, just put my head down, do good work. Whatever you want me to do, I will do. And not ask any questions, not try to rock the boat. But that's the thing about psychological safety is, right? Like, is sometimes you have to rock the boat in a way that with intention that is kind and compassionate. But you can still disagree with people. And I think that was something that I really struggled with. And my inability to create a community and an environment of psychological safety and trust with managers, I think on more than one occasion, were definitely my biggest kind of failures and led to me not having the outcomes within the desk I was at, the not having the trajectory I wanted. I really wanted to move quickly through General Mills and get promoted and move through the ranks, and that did not happen for me. And as I look back, it would have, I think, a younger Jeff would have blamed other people for that. But I've learned to take my own accountability and my role in that, and I know that I did not go out of lean in and create that kind of community of psychological safety and trust and talk about hard stuff with people. And I think that that is a huge lesson that I've learned and has made me a better person.
That's fire, dude. And thank you for your vulnerability. The so just for this, so you are aware, having done a zillion podcast episodes, I share all my failures over the past 5.5 years. So
Sure.
I'm very comfortable talking about this stuff. So I appreciate your willingness
Of
to
course.
do as well. So what is something that you did that did not create psychological safety? And then as a result of your doing some reflection, like, okay, crap, I guess I did not create. What did you do or not do to create psychological safety?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great question. So on the not creating psychological safety, going right back to failures, no, well, this is comfortable territory for me as well. I would say as a subordinate, one thing that I did not do, um, was have like honest conversations about like what I could be doing better. I wish it was really easy for me to just gas up the person that was my manager, really like lean into helping them succeed. And I figured if they would succeed, then everything would be fine. And I created this environment of like, I'm not going to say anything. You're not going to say anything. We're just going to assume it all goes to plan. And I think that is hard. If you don't know where you stand, I have a really good friend of mine and someone who I still work with to this day, who told me once like your annual review should never be a surprise. And if you ever think that I don't know exactly what that annual review meeting is going to look like or sound like, then we have not created that psychological safety with our people. As a leader, what I would say is the you have to create psychological safety for sure with your people, but you also sometimes have a need to feel like you have to move quickly. And in startup world, I certainly felt like that happened, where there was that tension between like I need to spend some time to develop relationships with my people, to grow them, to grow our relationship. But then there were other times where I felt like we had to move quickly, and I think there were times where sometimes I have kind of an impact bias for action tilt, and I think even though my intention to move quickly was for the best interests of the team. If people did not feel like they were brought along with that, then they really came to resent me and felt like they were not being heard. And we have to remember that there are team members who are moving at a different pace than us. And you may be deliberate, and another member may be very, uh, biased for action, move quickly, and or vice versa. And for me, slowing down, helping other people feel heard, um, is a really important thing. And again, sometimes you don't have the time, and sometimes you do have to move quickly and try to repair on the other side. But I will say like that has been another huge lesson for me is understanding. I joke that like sometimes I tend to accidentally trample introverts. And it's not that I don't care about them, but if we're driving to a goal, if we're driving to a product launch, and you don't say anything, then Sir Thomas More once said silence gives consent, right? So for me, I'm like, well, then we're good. But that's not necessarily the case, right? And you've got to be a higher EQ leader than that, and to be able to kind of read the tea leaves and understand where maybe a side conversation could be the difference between somebody being with you or someone secretly hating your guts.
You love that. Yes, that's such an excellent point. How do you maximize the value, optimize the value of slower pace versus faster pace team members when you have some fairly aggressive goals within a team or organization? Yeah, how do you do that, Jeff?
Very carefully. Um, it's a great question. And I think it ultimately, what sometimes has to happen is, and I had a leader at Cliff Bar who was really good at this, who during conversation um, with other leadership would say, like, I dissent, I have a different opinion. However, if the team believes that this is what we should do, I will absolutely help us move in that direction. Right. And so I think for me is like, how do you get to that decision point with your people? Right. It's not like I didn't even hear you and the decision was already made. And 2 weeks later, I'm now finding that you were against it. That's like, right. Like it takes the same amount of time to have a conversation up front to say, like, listen, I heard you. And I think it sounds like you're wanting to move in this direction. And what I'm telling you is I hear you and I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate your expertise. We are going to move in a different direction because I think it's the best for the business. And I think, again, I think all too often, again, I've been guilty of it many times. We do that first path, right? Where we just say, like, we had to do it. Why do I have to send 17 emails or have 17 side conversations? But honestly, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure, right? So.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. You've had a really interesting, fascinating background, unique experiences. What are some observations you've made about leaders, both strengths and weaknesses, or room to grow or improve?
I'm coaching. I had a meeting with a client this morning, who a wonderful human being, and we were having a conversation like, well, who are the leaders you admire? Do you admire the leaders that make it look easy, that their poop smells like roses and everything looks seamless, or do you admire the leader that lets you, peek behind the tent a little bit and shares their vulnerability with you and lets you know that they struggled with something, or lets an entire business unit know that they made a mistake about something? And both of us were like, well, yeah, I absolutely admire that second person, which is funny because most of us show up every day trying to be that first person, right? We want to make it look so easy. We want to look so good. We want every project to be seamless. And so I think, I think like this idea that like we have to aspire to be some sort of thing to fit some sort of title, this idea that we have to chase some sort of um, extrinsic validation of who we are. Um, and there are plenty of leaders, right, who look like that, who you can tell they are gunning for that EVP job. You can tell they are gunning for the sweet C-suite, and they are making that ambition clear, right? That's fine, but for me, the great leaders are the ones that would you like, honestly, you take this title away from me, you take this salary away from me, you take this company away from me, and tomorrow I am literally the same person, right? And I think though, to me, that type of self-assured leadership, whether it is in the military or whether it is in the civilian sector, right, is an admirable trait and something that I notice, I think, about great leaders.
What do you think is the hardest thing for leaders to do?
I think it's that. I think it is really easy. And I know I certainly felt like that for 35 years of my life, that I am supposed to be a CMO. I am supposed to be the best. Like I look around and I'm going to constantly compare myself to other people and benchmark myself about where I'm supposed to be and map out what the path is to get to where I want to go. Um, it's a really kind of like silly metaphor, extended metaphor, but it's a little bit like dating, man. Like if you really want to be partnered up, if you really want to get married, and you come with that energy to a first date, that's not like it's kind of like right a little bit, right? Like that person is really kind of coming at me. Whereas if you're just looking to have a great conversation, if you're looking to just have a really great first date, if you're looking to have a really good meal, right? That is a much more, I would say, attractive way to move through the dating world, right? And the same is true, I think, about leadership is when you're not so thirsty, as the kids say. I think, sure, we're taught as strivers to say like, well, if I can't advocate for myself, then who will advocate for me? If I'm not going to gun for it, then who's going to help me gun for it? But I've really found that when I have stopped gunning for things, and I've really tried to focus on me as an intrinsic measure of success. Like, what are the things that I can work on? What are the things that I really do well that I can really bring to help create value for my teammates, for our company, and for our consumers? All of a sudden, like all the best things that have happened in my career have happened after I stopped trying to get it so bad, you know?
That's great. One of the things that I say is it, if you're coming from a place of desperation, people
Yeah.
can feel it.
They can smell it, man. They can smell you. It's like you're wearing milk-bone underwear, you know? And they say every dog has his day, and sometimes you're wearing milk-bone underwear, right? And I think absolutely. I think when you are that nakedly ambitious in that way, on the one hand, like I salute you for your charisma and for your perseverance and for your dedication. On the other hand, I I would challenge people to think about like why do you want that title? Like why do you is that title of that create validation for you, or is there some sort of intrinsic thing that that position allows you to do as a human being that you feel is kind of true to your purpose, right?
Yeah. Yeah. How do you how do you create the culture in an organization that is the healthiest, strongest, and highest producing?
Yeah, I mean, again, that you create that culture of psychological safety and trust. And I think the misnomer here is like you have to be the team leader to do that, or you have to be the CEO to do that. And it's just not true, right? Like um, if you go to my LinkedIn profile, it says I'm a great teammate, and I'm a teammate first, and I'm a leader second. And I think when people know that is kind of, and if people know that you do not have ambition, right? Like that's the thing. That's the beautiful thing. It is a lot easier to create psychological safety and trust as a leader when you're like, dude, you could take this title away from me. And I say this all the time. People who know me always laugh. I'm like, when I look for whatever's next in my life, the title cannot matter. You can call me the assistant poop scooper. It does not matter. Does it allow me to execute my work purpose in life, right? Which is to use the creative process to unlock joy for others through storytelling, through human-centered design, and through unapologetic service leadership. And if I get to do those things, you can call me the assistant poop scooper all you want. Because the chances are is if I'm getting to do that stuff every day, I'm feeling really good and I know that I'm really good at those things and everything else will take care of itself. And I really believe that. And I think if you operate in that way, and if you are a ray of sunshine in every room you go into, like that gets noticed, man, right? Just like it's the inverse of the desperate kind of mindset that you were talking about earlier. And when you show up in every room and you are the opposite of that, I think you by default start to create that kind of culture and you start to bring out the best in everybody.
That's awesome. That's great. How how did you? Because I loved when you said your purpose. Last week when we spoke, you said it again. You went on you had a again pretty circuitous. I
That's the
don't.
one. I think
Is
that's
that
right.
is that
Yep.
the right
Yep.
way? How 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 did you and how long did it take to develop your purpose?
Um, this is kind of a connection to my that initial failure story, right? When I was realizing I was not moving through up to the company that I as fast as I thought I deserved, right? Um, and um, and then I was like, whatever, I'm out of here. Went to Cliff Bar, and I'm a rock climber. Care a lot about sustainability issues and um, family and employee owned at the time. Cliff Bar was, and it was like the shining lighthouse on the hill. I'm like, I see, forget you all. I landed more than on my feet. I landed at the top of the top, and I'm off to the races. But it didn't happen like that either, Noble. My career did not accelerate at Cliff Bar in the same way that I kind of expected. And I think it was in that moment of like, oh, looking at around at everybody else and all my classmates getting promoted and doing really great in their careers and feeling really insecure and waking up every morning and thinking, God, I wish leadership would just tell me, what do you want me to be? And I will be that person. You just tell me what you want me to be, and I will be that person. And you do that enough and you're like, this doesn't feel quite right, And in fact, it should be the opposite, right? Which is um, I need to figure out who I am. And then once I figure out who I am in a truly deep and resonant and unique way, then I can look at the environment around me and say, like, where are there Jeff-sized holes in the business? Where are there Jeff-sized opportunities where that could help? And I think once I started to do that, I got promoted. I got 3 raises in a year. I got moved to the innovation team that I wanted to get moved to. Really developing that in like I would say like a 2 or 3 month process really changed everything. The other thing I would say is I did get coaching. I was Cliff Bar was an incredible organization, provided life coaching. So Julie Stewart, big props to Julie Stewart, incredible coach. And she really helped me because I went into her office the first time for life coaching, and I thought to myself, Julie, I need this lady to tell me how awesome I am. I need this lady to tell me how everybody else is wrong. They don't see their potential. You're this amazing person. And Julie looked at me and more or less was like, not going to do that. And let's work on ourselves, right? Um, and it has begun a huge process for me that I think again, and I refine it, right? So my work purpose has gone through some refinements since then and has been sharpened since then. But I do think really understanding, like if I were to say something that my friends would be like, yes. And also where people like 37 other people couldn't say, yeah, that's my work purpose too, right? Like I think that's really important. Otherwise, like for example, when I was at business school, there's that on your resume there's like this other interests page, and people would write stuff like travel or like food. I'm like, come on, man. You might as well just put like wingdings down there. It doesn't matter. But if you put something that is sharp and unique, um, and eye catching, then you're not wasting that space, right? I had a coachee who liked to weightlift, and he wrote weightlifting. I'm like, bro, not a military guy actually, and I was like, dude, no offense, but like if you were hiring somebody, you'd be like, oh man, he's a weightlifter. Let's hire him immediately. Like that's not the point of this. Like, but can you think of something within the realm of weightlifting that is memorable? And he goes, well, one time I won an amateur bicep competition at this weightlifting conference thing that I went to. I'm like, now if you're an amateur bicep curl champion, now we're talking, right? And guess what? Through all of his interview processes, he will tell you to this day, what's the thing that people asked him about? Like, yo, I gotta ask. Tell me about this amateur bicep curl competition, right? And so my point is that like whatever you do, whatever you are marching towards from a purpose perspective, it has to be like singularly applicable to you.
That's awesome. That's great, Skinny. That's great, Skinny. That's awesome. Um, okay, so now can you share with us a little bit, kind of land in the plane a little bit here,
Sure.
Jeff? What so what is your company purpose again? Who do you serve
Yep.
and how do we find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my work purpose, and it's connected to my purpose as a human being too, right? Like Noble, you and I have talked about, we're both dads. And uh, you know, work aside, like work is the tiniest drop of water in the ocean compared to what my responsibility as a partner and my responsibility as a father are. And so, of course, my work purpose is going to look a lot and sound a lot like the things that I do in my personal life that are really important to me. Um, but for me, I'm all about helping others feel joy, and and see what that looks like. But even more importantly for me is like it's that creative connection, right? So like I'm a musician. I've always I'm a writer, right? Like the creative process has always been central to me. I guess I could do like Larry Curly and Moe slapstick comedy and make people feel joy, but that's just not quite as resonant for me, right? It's about like the creative process. And so when I was a journalist, the stories that earned me all my awards and all my recognition were all like these like longer form storytelling um, pieces that had beginnings, middle, ends, character development, kind of like climax, kind of unexpected moments, and you really like became quite astute to the concept that telling a story via visual medium is an art form, just like a paintbrush, just like Hemingway at the typewriter, right? And so I've loved that storytelling piece, and that storytelling piece helps brands like that's the only reason brands exist in this world is because they help create some sort of sense of like connection with a consumer to be like, yes, you are my people, right? And I am your people. And so I found my storytelling to be very resonant in that space. Human-centered design came a little bit later for me. Like, so I work a lot in white space innovations. So like when a company's like, I want to create a new product, that sounds so easy. And a company like a Cliff Bar with Gary Erickson, this incredibly intuitive CEO and founder who was a cyclist and a climber, and was like, man, there is nothing for people like me other than these disgusting power bars. I'm gonna make something out of like real food. He's Greek and his family was Greek and they had a bakery, and so the rest, as they say, is history. He kind of combined those pieces. Well, great. But when you're wanting to create the next thing, it actually helps us. And Clay Christensen is the founder of this concept called the jobs to be done theory, which is to say, the only reason human beings have ever purchased anything in their lives is because there's some sort of functional, social, emotional circumstance of struggle, some sort of struggle, and they need to make progress in that struggle. So they pull a product in or a service in to make progress in that. And until you learn the consumer and understand the consumer, and until you understand that struggle, it doesn't, you can launch all the products you want, but you're really just throwing darts at a wall, not even know if there's a dartboard there, right? So human-centered design and understanding jobs to be done theory, it helps you create the necessary constraints by understanding the consumer and understanding their lives before you even start to put pen to paper and ideate. So that's something that I'm able to do just through understanding consumers, asking them the right questions from my TV interviewer days, and then also just having a long kind of career in marketing and consumer packaged goods. And the last one's easy, and it's the one that you and I have talked a lot about, right? It's um, unapologetic service leadership that makes the success of others my most important metric of success. And that's why I love coaching so much, is because in a perfect world, you never know who I am, right? Like, but you know a lot of people, you find the people that I get to work with wonderful, fulfilled, kind, compassionate people who are successful by their own metrics of success. And that's why I loved coaching at the University of Virginia so much as well, and why I still love coaching to this day. So those are kind of the things that I do. I kind of hang my own shingle now. I work kind of on my own terms. I'm very blessed, and I'm really trying to spend as much time with my 10-year-old and my 8-year-old and my wife as possible. And so able to work kind of on a project by project basis or working with clients. You can find me on LinkedIn. My name is Jeff. Last name is Tang. I believe Jeff J Tang is the kind of my like handle at the end of the LinkedIn kind of piece. So you're welcome to find me there.
And any website
Nope.
or LinkedIn is the best spot to connect with you.
Yeah, LinkedIn is the best spot. What I would say
Okay.
is when I decided to kind of go independent, um, my father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and so we spent a lot of time traveling to be there for him and to help him as much as we can. And he passed away last year, and so
I'm sorry.
there's a thank you. And I think it's a really important time to kind of evaluate and see where you are in life. And he made us proud, and I think I know we made him, my brother and I made him proud. And so the question then becomes, do I really want to scale this thing up and get a website and start to scale up and get more clients and get more, start to build a team, or do I want to enjoy my 10-year-old right now while they think I'm still kind of cool, and they still kind of need me. Um, and I think my dad, if he would have changed one thing, he would have spent more time with us when we were 8 and 10. So, that lesson was really, really sat with me. And so, no, I'm a nascent business kind of by choice. And, who knows, down the road, things could be different, when my kids are teenagers and don't want anything to do with me. And then I'll be coming back to you, Noble, and saying, actually, I got a website now. But, no, for now, I feel very fortunate. And again, you still get to meet people like Noble kind of on your path, right? Like you don't necessarily need, and I believe in that. I believe in the power of serendipity, and like energy attracts like energy. And so, I guess I'm making a huge excuse right now as to why I don't have a more sophisticated presence in the interwebs. But at least this is kind of a little bit of a look into why I haven't done that yet.
No, that's phenomenal. That's awesome, Jeff. One last thought that you would like to leave with listeners that would love to get more joy in their lives
Yeah,
and become who more of who they were called to be. Any thoughts?
absolutely. If you remember nothing else about our conversation today, and I'm not the first person to say it, so do not attribute any of this credit to me, but it is just something true at least in my heart of hearts, um, embracing the process over the outcomes. So if in your life you can dedicate yourself to the process, if you can evaluate yourself on the effort and the attitude and the intention of the process versus the outcome, you will have a more fulfilling life. Here's the reason is if you just chase outcomes, then how you get that outcome doesn't matter so much. And it tends to lead to people leaving their integrity at the door, just a little bit at a time and then all at once, right? And here's the worst part about it is once you get that outcome, there is always another outcome. And there's always another outcome after that. And that is why our society has super yachts, because somehow the world of having a yacht was not enough, right? And we need more than a yacht. So now we have a super yacht, right? And I think you and I can both agree there's probably no real practical, fundamental human reason that super yachts need to exist other than people constantly chasing outcomes. And guess what? Those people are always miserable because there's always another outcome to chase. But if you can embrace the process and do the process with integrity in a way that feels true and good to you and with your best effort and with your best intention, then it doesn't matter what the outcome is because you're going to sleep like a baby.
Amazing, Jeff. Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate your time and your insights and your wisdom that you have shared with us, man. I'm really looking forward to, staying connected to you and, kind of following your journey. But really, really appreciate your time today, brother.
Thank you. And same to you, Noble. And again, thank you again for having me today.